action figure review. So today we're going to be looking at the new Spider-Man Homecoming Marvel Select figure from Diamond. So I've had this figure for about a week now, and I thought it was time to show him to you guys. Marvel Select is my favorite figure line to collect besides like Hot Toys, but for this size and this scale and this sort of price range, Marvel Select is my favorite. And as for the movie Homecoming, that has been my favorite movie so far this year. So I was really excited to get this figure. He comes with this really cool sort of rooftop display base there. What I kind of want to do at some point is take all these display bases that Diamond gives us with these Marvel Selects and make like a little display piece. You know, like I know some people make some set pieces for their figures and display them on there and take pictures of them on there. So if anybody watching this knows how to do that, or if they've done it before and they've got some tips for me, that'd be awesome. If you could just like send me a message or something and give me some pointers. But as for this figure, I really love him, so I'm excited to show him to you. Let's just look at this base real quick before we get into the figure. Like I said, it's a rooftop sort of piece. Cool detail on the bricks. And then you've got some like some cracks and some texture going on there, so it looks really cool, you know. But I really don't care too much about diorama pieces like that. It's a cool little extra, but I get the figure for the figure. So let's have a look at him. So something that has concerned me and a few other people that I've seen on some action figure forums is that it looks like Diamond might be making their Marvel Select figures a little bit smaller than they used to be. This figure, I mean, Selects are supposed to be 7-inch scale, and this guy is just over 6 inches, so he's only a little bit taller than like a Marvel Legend. I'm sort of okay with it for this particular figure just because this is from Homecoming, and in that movie he's a sophomore, and I think he says he's 15 years old, so it's okay. If you saw my review for the recent Daredevil figure, he's pretty short as well. And the size kind of bothers me more on the Daredevil figure than it does on the Spider-Man, because Daredevil is supposed to be a grown man, and so that's just something we got to deal with. But for this Spider-Man figure, I think the scale works okay. We'll do some size comparisons in a little bit. But I wanted to show you the detail on the figure first. I mean, the detail is really good. I don't see any missed parts with the like the lines on the figure. It doesn't bleed over into any areas it's not supposed to be. I mean, it looks really good, and they got the colors right. Now, something that some people have pointed out is that in the movie, with this costume, Spider-Man is supposed to have some darker blue lines that run around his legs there, and that is just not there at all. Now, Diamond's official reason for that is they say that those lines were added later on in the production of the movie, and so by the time they got the plans for the costume and started working on the figure, it was already too late when they added when the studio added the lines onto that costume, and that's why it's not here. I don't really believe that, because this is the same costume from Civil War, right, which came out a couple of years ago, and I'm pretty sure you can see the lines on his legs in that movie. So I don't know if that's their statement, then there's not really a whole lot I can do about it. So articulation, it's pretty good. If you did watch my Daredevil figure, you'll see I was sort of singing Diamond's praises because they have really stepped it up with articulation on their figures. With this one, the head articulation is not that great. I mean, you can get it to go upwards a little bit. It looks like he should be able to look up a little bit further, but it is kind of hard to do it. It's just pretty stiff. So you can get him to look up a little bit, but on this figure, the head is pretty much just side to side. Everything else on the figure is pretty great. The arms at the shoulders can go all the way around, and then you can bring them outwards as well. Now this is pretty tight, which is okay. I mean, it's still movable, but there's some paint right here on that joint. It's blue, but on the other side you can see it's rubbing off. So it's not a huge deal to me, but that is something to to look for the because it's so tight on there, that paint is looking like it's going to be rubbing off. On the arms, you can move the biceps out like that, and then you do have double joints in the elbows, which I do really like. I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, it looks a little bit strange. That part just looks a little bit ugly, but I mean, it just sort of depends on like the angle that you're looking at the figure with, and it's good that they give us the double joints there in the elbows, so you can still move them around quite a bit, which is good, you know. With the wrists, you can swivel them around, and then you can bend them upwards, but again, pretty tight, so it's kind of hard to pull that off. But with a little bit of work, I think I could make that a bit looser. So he hasn't got a joint here in his waist, but he has got this up here a little bit further up. And again, very tight, so it's hard for me to make him turn side to side all that much. But forward and back, you can get him to go forward and back a fair bit, you know? Which looks really good. I mean, now, you're not going to be able to see this on camera, but as far as like the texture of the suit goes, you can feel the texture, these little bumps on here, and you can see it. I mean, it's just really small detail, but this figure looks so good. So good. As for the leg articulation, I really like these leg joints. I'm one of the people who hate ball joints. I think they're ugly. I don't get them. They look awful, and they're awkward to move around with. With this leg joint, you can move that leg back really far, and then you can bring it forward really far. And then, of course, you can bring it out this way. So there's a lot of possibilities there with the articulation. And then you've got that upper thigh cut, so that's good. You can move that around a little bit. And then the knees are also double jointed, which I really like. I mean, we should be able to get this figure in some really good poses, some really good dynamic poses. And then on the cankles, he's got a cankle pivot, which I like, of course. And then you can move the ankle down a bit. You can bring it up a bit like that. So, I mean, this articulation is really good on the figure. I mean, you take a look at some of Diamond's earlier stuff from, 10, 15 years ago, and the articulation is just so limited, and it seems like they're just always finding more and more ways to make their figures more posable while still keeping that detail. So I really do like that. Now, as far as accessories go, they do give us some extra hands. You don't get an extra head that's like unmasked, but I have seen some people online, they just pop that head right off and put the unmasked head from the Marvel Legend figure. And it seems to fit okay, because like I said, this figure is really quite short in comparison to other Marvel Selects. But with the hands that we get, you get two of the web shooting hands, and then we get two open hands, just like that, to look cool. And on all of these hands, the lines, I mean, it's just so consistent with the like the application of the webbing pattern. And then the other hands that you get, they're fists again. You can see the hands that I've got on this figure right now are fists. So you get some other fists, and it's just there's a little bit of a space in them. I'm not really sure what that's for. I mean, I'd imagine it's so that you can fit like some webbing in there, but this figure doesn't come with any sort of webbing, so it's weird. I mean, I know you can make your own webs pretty easily for your Spider-Man figures with like twisty ties and stuff like that, but it's kind of a weird accessory to put in there. So size comparisons, I mainly just collect comic book versions of characters in the Marvel Select line. I mean, these are exceptions because I love Spider-Man, love Homecoming, and Daredevil. Again, I love the show. So I've got him, and they're pretty much the same height. But then I've got this Marvel Select Spider-Man from the 2012 Amazing movie. And so if I can get him to stand up on his own, you can see there's a, I'll move this over a little bit. There's a little bit of a size difference there. Amazing is a little bit taller than Homecoming, which is probably accurate. You know, I mean, I don't know the heights off the top of my head, but I would guess that Andrew Garfield is taller than Tom Holland, so that's pretty good. And then we've got some other Spider-Man comic ones. So this is the first Spider-Man figure that Diamond did as part of their Select line. So that's like a true 7-inch figure. You can really see the height difference there, can't you? And then we've got this, I think this one was called Spectacular Spider-Man, which came out maybe a couple years ago. That's my favorite Marvel Select figure. Got him in sort of a weird pose at the moment, but yeah, this one's my favorite. But this is a close second. I mean, this is a really good Spider-Man figure. And as for the height, he still fits really well with some of these, like some of these villains that I'm going to show you, like this Venom figure. I really like having Venom be a little bit bigger than Spider-Man, so I think that's a good fit, you know, with the height and the size difference. And then he's really good for like really big Marvel Select figures like this Rhino. You're probably gonna have to bring that out a little bit. You can see right there, like that's just, I really like that, you know. I like how small Spider-Man looks compared to the Rhino. So, you know, if you're not really a fan of Homecoming, but you like the costume and, I don't know, you're thinking about getting him, even if you don't like the movie, he fits really well with comic book figures. And, I mean, he should fit okay since he's just a high school student. He should fit okay with your Marvel Selects if you collect like the Cinematic Universe ones. Yeah, I mean, apart from that, there's not much more I can say about this figure. I really like him a lot. There's not really any one big thing that I would complain about, or really anything small. I mean, everything on this figure is just a knockout, so I would definitely recommend him. Definitely get him. Totally worth the money. And so thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.